So while I hear, Will Levis came in, look, Mac Jones is the quarterback this year, unless he loses out in a quarterback competition to Bailey Zappi in camp. I think there will be a competition. But I can't sit here and tell you that he's going to lose out to Bailey Zappi. I don't know that. They are both getting Bill O'Brien's system for the first time, right? So, okay, both of them got the bad system last year at the same time, and Bailey handled it a little bit better. But now there's a new sheriff in town, and whoever handles that system the best will be the quarterback that's out there. But I do think it will be good and beneficial for Mac Jones to have competition for the job. Hasn't really happened yet. 617-779-7937, text line 37937. So the Patriots have a lot to look at just on this season alone, right? Is this the season where the Patriots let Mac Jones know that you're a four-and-done guy here? Or do they need to see this year and the fourth year to decide whether they're going to extend to a fifth year? I think this year will only determine whether he doesn't get traded in a fourth year, right? It's only going to Mac Jones performing well is now mandatory, because if he does it, if it's two back-to-back years of subpar performance, I don't care if it's the first year in Bill O'Brien's system, you'll be coming up on year 4 and you've got to make a statement right away, kind of like they did with Daniel Jones. And if you're a praying person, if you're one of Mac's stands, and that's cool if you are, here's the prayer. I pray that Mac has a desired path the way that Daniel Jones did, right? Because when Daniel Jones was about to, right as he was going into year 4, they told him there was going to be no year 5 extension. We haven't seen enough, hasn't worked out for us so far. Brian Dable comes in, the atmosphere changes, and that part of it because Patricia's gone, and I think that Joe Judge was maybe more of the guiltier side of if there was any type of negative feelings or miscommunique, who knows? But at least one of the issues are now removed, and maybe that is another mental step forward for Mac Jones. This might be the most fair I've been to Mac Jones ever. But in fairness, I call it as I see it. And the other thing is, I think the fan base now has kind of like a full parameter of what you're looking at with this team, right? That now you can take 19, 20, 21, and 22 and kind of look at it as like a kid who enters high school, as a senior's leaving high school and as a freshman or a kid who's about to come into the high school that's going to soon to be the king, if you will. So if you look at what Brady's last year was, the defense was number 1 in points and yards. So the defense was on top of so many things, even though it was the most uncomfortable feeling winning season that you could think of recently when they lost the wild card. It just felt like, okay, well, I guess the divorce papers are about to be signed. But the defense was on top of it. The Cam Newton year, the defense was meh, but the offense was really, really bad. Again, it was a bridge. That's what I always said it was. So when Mac Jones comes in 21, the offense is top 10 in points and top 15 in yards, but the defense, once again, is top 5. Second in points, 4th in yards. Last year, the offense, 17th in points, 26th in yards, while the defense was 11th in points and 8th in yards. So this season is clearly about Mac Jones, because in a bad offensive season with a losing record, the defense was still better than average, right? Average would be 15. So you have average defenses or above average defenses really for the last 4 seasons. So it's not the defense that's the issue. And let's go ahead and cross out the 2020 season. We'll cross that off the list. So now you're looking at, okay, a losing season, a winning season that's comparable to the 2019 winning season. The winning season of 21, I should say. So is Mac that guy who can turn it around this year? If you believe that Bill O'Brien is that answer, I think it's going to have to be a little more than that. Right? Like if you think of Rocky III, it's on TV all the time. If you don't know it, Google it. It's free. You know, Rocky didn't need just Apollo Creed. It was his trainer that was there too. So there has to be something more that brings out everything that's going to be in you. And I think it starts with an offensive line that's going to help protect you when you know that you've looked the worst when the offensive line has broken down on you. Now, to the whole thing about receiver, like, is Tyquan Thornton suddenly chopped liver? I mean, think about it. This guy came back from a collarbone injury to be serviceable as a rookie in the second round. So to think that, like, okay, you got to take this big-time first-round guy to do what? To stand out there and watch the quarterback continually get sacked again? Lack of protection? Look, you do these little draft things, these little mock drafts. And I did mine before they start charging people. I guess maybe you mentioned people start doing these things on the air and they mention it and everybody starts rushing it. I did mine in February, okay? And I don't know if it's going to happen, but this is what I was saying, that Paris Johnson should be the target for the Patriots as their first-round pick. Now, if he's not there, the idea is go get an offensive lineman who you believe can be life-changing for Mac Jones. It's like getting a bodyguard once you become a rapper. You know this, Stiz. Like, once you become and I have been offered to be a bodyguard for one famous rap group.
Oh, I could see that.
They were getting me $100,000, but if you just saw the report of how $100,000 is like making like 35 cents an hour in Boston, it wasn't going to be enough to defend rappers.
And it might be a little more dangerous.
Yeah, you'd have to give me I got to have the house that doesn't have a neighbor on the other side of the wall. But the idea is Mac Jones needs protection. The second pick, I have him taking a cornerback, then a safety, then a couple edge rushers once you get into the hundreds. I'm not one of those guys that says, well, if I do a trade here and I move here and I swap these and those. You don't know what the phone calls are. Stop doing that to yourself with these little mock drafts you put together. Just stick to the numbers where they are, pick them where they land. You don't know what moving pieces. I would trade with Denver right here. Who says Denver takes your phone call? But the idea is offensive line, address some defense in the second round. I think they're great corners. I think the top 10 corners they believe will go in the first 70. Safety, edge rushers, another cornerback. Maybe you take a halfback in the one in round 6 just to get another body back there. You know what position I haven't said? Quarterback. What? KJ is not screaming for them to draft. What about Herndon Hooker? No, I wouldn't want to put him through this mess. Because no matter what quarterback you try to bring in here, it's still going to be a shoddy offensive line. And if I'm a big-time receiver, I want to know that my quarterback, especially if they're not mobile, has time to deliver the ball. See, it's another thing if with this current offensive line and you had a more mobile quarterback, say a Daniel Jones, you can say, you know what, let's go pay for a big receiver because our quarterback can buy an extra second with their legs. That's not Mac Jones. So I'm not sitting here calling for, the quarterback's trash and all that and everything. I said I wasn't going to say that until after 3 seasons. Right now, it's meh. It's meh. 617-779-7937. Text line 37937. Let's go to Scott in Connecticut about the Patriots in the draft. Scott, thanks so much for calling WEEI.
Great show. Everything you're saying is correct. Offensive line, well, Wynn isn't even a tackle. He's got the body of a guard. He should be playing guard, and they're going to need a tackle. They got a lot of picks, and apparently there's a lot of good defensive backs and some receivers, and they have a chance. They're going to have to bring people in that can play right away.
Yep. Scott, thanks so much for the call.
Mac.
Yeah, thank you, Scott, for the call. Look, I am trying to find the path to the best chance of success for Mac Jones, right? I'm not going to play this guy because I don't even like using the word takes because that's, I've had the opinion of that Mac has really not earned it yet. Even when you go back to college, let's not play revisionist history. He didn't have to compete against Tua's younger brother, who would have been his direct competition for that quarterback job. In 2020, it wasn't going to be Bryce Young. Remember, 2020 was the pandemic year. Little Tua transferred to Maryland. When Cam Newton was here, well, we all knew what that was. And there was the chance to go ahead and You weren't beating anything out. It was just kind of like, okay, the bridge is now complete. We drafted you 7th. We drafted you here in the first round. You're the quarterback. But now you have to ask yourself, and this is from a franchise standpoint, are you waiting it out and it's going to be kind of meh and mediocre looking until the next thing smoking in college comes out in a couple of years and you go after that in terms of a quarterback? Or do you build an offensive line now so that way if it doesn't work out with Mac, at least you could say you gave him the protection up front? All these shiny toys. Think about this. Tyreek Hill is gone from the Chiefs, and where did the Chiefs end up last year? Can you name their receivers? In fact, one of the receivers you can name is here now. Kansas City pretty much runs with a one tight end as its primary receiver. Well, I'm not saying that Mac Jones is Patrick Mahomes. So if that's not the case, then what are the other things you could provide? An offensive line. Guess what Kansas City Chiefs have? One of the best offensive lines in the league. So even with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, we will give you an offensive line and another guy who's really a lineman, right? It's tight end's an offensive lineman technically, who can catch the ball, and you work everything out with the other pieces that you have. Well, why wouldn't the Patriots be in that same accord of let's get that line solidified and then see what pieces come along? Because then if Tyquan Thornton is the burner that he is supposed to be coming out, and his speed time, I think it was like 4.21, something like that, which is like, I can't even say my full name in 4.21 seconds. But just think about how much better separation he'll be able to get if the quarterback has that much more time.